Check 1, 2.
That's like the max. That can be max. It is.
Check. Check 1, 2. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's as loud as it gets. Okay, we can make that work. It's not like there's a ton of people here. Okay. You know, I only get so much juice out of these things. Okay, cool. All right. I think it's about time to start. If everybody wants to have a seat, we're going to get started here. All right. Can everybody hear me? Okay, cool. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Howdy doobie.
Howdy do.
What's happening, DFW Norml? How are you today?
Good.
Good. Well, thank you all for joining us today for our August meeting here at the White Rock Hills Branch Library. Can we make some noise for the fact that we're in a library talking about marijuana today? Got some good stuff to cover today. We have attorney David Sloan. He's a public information officer here at DFW Norml. He's also a criminal defense attorney. He is the attorney that is in my phone for whenever I get in trouble, if that ever happens. And so today he's going to talk about some of the things that you should probably do and not do if you run into law enforcement with pot in your pocket. Does that sound helpful?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we'll get to David here in a little bit. There's a couple of things that I want to get to first. The very first thing, DFW Norml, we're a nonprofit volunteer group. None of us get paid. And so hey, THC Designs just walked in. Everybody say hi to one of our sponsors. Hey, Zach. So when you have people who really stick around and do a great job as far as volunteering, it definitely needs to be recognized. And so I feel like DFW Norml has always been one of those groups that really likes to recognize outstanding activism. And today I want to recognize somebody who did something outstanding, something that many people have attempted and not actually ever succeeded in. Nicolette, come on down. Nicolette just finished her internship at UTA here on behalf, interning at DFW Norml for her UTA academia. And so she got school credit to be a DFW Norml intern for 15 weeks and just did outstanding, guys. I think we just lost our mic.
You lost Mike.
Check. We don't really need it. I'll talk loud. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
That means I have to talk loud.
So 15 weeks, and that included weekly meetings at my house, secretarial duties, planning a crap load of emails, and also conquering a little bit of a fear of public speaking. She actually spoke at our march back in May, and it was at the beginning of her internship that she stood in front of a couple of thousand people and talked about why she was a marijuana activist. So pretty impressive, right?
Yeah.
So I want us to give Nicolette a quick hand and let her talk briefly about her experience, because hopefully she won't be the last DFW Norml intern. She definitely set the standard. She did a really killer job, just jumped in and took care of a lot of the pain in the ass work that wasn't getting done, that's making us a better organization even now that she's done with it. So please give her one more hand. I've got something I want to give Nicolette here when she's done speaking.
Okay, we got my back. All right. Well, first of all, okay, so
Yeah.
Go ahead.
just won't touch it.
You're gonna sing.
Okay, just so is it?
I think you just have to.
It just doesn't like her.
All right, it's
I say
fine.
forget the microphone.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's not worth it.
I agree.
Speak up, Nicolette.
All right. All right. Well, just a little bit of background. I did get credit with UTA, and the degree that I got credit with my internship for was a master's in public administration. So that's pretty much any nonprofit, local government, state government, national government, and how to run those organizations, which is why DFW Norml, I really got a lot of good experience planning, networking, advocating, what really goes into putting on events like this. And best thing is I just want to thank everybody who's part of DFW Norml, because y'all made it so amazing for me. I met some of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life, and y'all made it a walk in the park. Like, it was just amazing. And also, one thing I had to do for my internship was keep a weekly journal. And it was reflective, and you just kind of talk about your experiences, and that was really the core of what I turned into UTA. So I saved 2 short passages that I want to share with y'all. The first one, this is from the very first week before I even started the internship, or within like a couple of days of starting it. Norml, I've found an extremely diverse gathering of individuals from all demographics. I've always been interested in grassroots nonprofits. In high school, I said that I always wanted to volunteer for an organization like Habitat for Humanity, for example. But I asked myself often, however, what Habitat for Humanity was like when it started. Certainly, it wasn't the globally recognized giant that it is today. I feel that I'm coming into DFW Norml at its adolescent, even infant stages. I am seeing what these nonprofit household names began as, a group of people on a mission, slowly gathering their resources, members, and credibility. And then at the end, when everything was done, and I had to give my full, this is what impact it had on my life, UTA. He said, in the weeks that I've been attending their events and corresponding with them, I believe I may have accidentally stumbled upon my calling in life. I was never interested in politics. However, the more I learn, the more hunger I have to know more. I've always enjoyed interacting with people and making an impact where I can. DFW Norml has inspired me to help me see how a small interest can turn into a life's calling. Issues which speak more dearly to my heart, issues which I know cannot be changed simply by having neighborhoods sign a petition. Experienced, I realized that I have the potential within myself to create, support, or be part of a movement that can realize actual progress and recognition. I believe that in my career, I will find myself part of many movements, constantly striving to see the changes that I and others want to see in the world. So I really just want to thank everybody for that.
So a few months ago, we had these little signs made out of 24-karat gold vinyl. We had 5 of them made. They were donated by our friend Stephen Haas, who's probably watching because he's just good like that. And we had them made for people who were just outstanding. Arthur Mayer back there, wave your hand. Arthur, he received one of these. This is our very last one, and I feel like Nicolette has really, really earned it by just bringing it every single day. She's really impressed all of us, and we're so glad that she's going to stick around and help make this a better organization forever moving forward. So thank you very much, Nicolette. I'll take a picture real quick. You get one? Need a picture? Are you taking video? Okay. Okay. Stand here all day?
How long can you hold that smile?
All day.
All day and then some.
Cool. Hey, thank you very much. You kicked ass. It's huge, guys. A couple people have said that they were going to be a DFW Norml intern, filled out paperwork, yada, 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 and didn't follow through. That follow through is the type of thing that makes this a great organization. People who really not only show up, bring it, and follow through, but they really they learn along the way and become better along the way. That's really what this is all about for us. So the next couple of things that I want to talk about are some what I believe to be extremely important events that if you're in this room today, you may want to be in these rooms on these days. Does that sound good? Yeah? Everybody out there? Okay. All right, great. So on September 25th, which is a Sunday, Marijuana Policy Project, they have the Texas organization, Texans for Responsible Marijuana Policy. They're doing a marijuana policy advocacy training at the Pantego Lions Club in Arlington on September 25th from 12:30 to 5 p.m. You can register at texasmarijuanapolicy.org. And a little bit about this event that I think makes it noteworthy, that I think if you're here today, why you should be at this event. Constituent advocacy is one of the most critical tools we have as grassroots movement. Legislators and other community members need to hear from Texans like you who want to see sensible marijuana policies instituted. This training event is designed to help you become an effective advocate for marijuana law reform in Texas. The training will offer you the tools you need to make effective arguments, dispel common myths, confidently communicate with your legislators, and positively affect policy during the upcoming legislative session. A lot, right? There's a lot to that. And so they're having these events all over Texas, El Paso, San Antonio. So September 25th, I'm going to be there. Does anybody want to join me?
Yeah.
Make some noise if you want to join me. Very good. So I will see you all there. The next one is October 15th, the Texas Norml Veterans Conference. This is on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2:15 p.m. At the Legislative Conference Center inside the state capitol in Austin. Has anybody been inside the Capitol in Austin? Is it for marijuana? So let's go for marijuana. Cool? So about this event briefly, we're featuring a wide variety of educators, advocates, medical professionals, and veteran activists. This is also a free conference, just like the previous one, that will focus on medical marijuana and the mission to gain safe access to cannabis for patients. Veterans and patients are pushing the front of the line of reform in medical marijuana laws in Texas, and many people who are not veterans are also experiencing PTSD, traumatic brain injury, chronic pain, and other health issues. Therefore, we welcome all patients to attend our veteran conference. You can register for free at TexasNorml, TXNORML.org. Anybody want to join me for that one? Make some noise.
Yeah.
It's going to be an outstanding day for activism. It's always way more exciting to me when we're in the Capitol. That's where the laws happen. And so it's really great to be outside of the safe zone of DFW and in the Capitol, wearing your suit or whatever you've got, and trying to bring your A game to change policy. I mean, that's ultimately what it's all about for me. Is that what it's about for you guys?
Yeah.
Awesome. Those are the two really important as far as policy changing things that you need to know about. Next, is anybody curious about the Dallas Marijuana March?
Yeah.
All right, great. So is this the third year that we're doing this? Third? Yeah, third year we're doing the Dallas Marijuana March event we made up. We just made it up. It wasn't part of the Global Marijuana March or anything else. It was just an event that we felt like, because our Global Marijuana March was happening in Fort Worth every year, what were people complaining about? It's not in Dallas. And they were totally right. And so we realized, well, if we're going to do one in Fort Worth, well, we must do one in Dallas. And so this will be our third year doing it. This is an event that we actually do not request permits for. Ask for permission. And usually it's because we have commercial vendors set up. Well, the Dallas Marijuana March, we created this event so we wouldn't have to ask permission. So there are no vendors. So we set up a PA, and we have a bunch of people show up, and we have a First Amendment event that they can't do anything about other than protect. And it's kind of exciting to be at the JFK Memorial where we know one of these presidents who became the president of the United States, he smoked cannabis. And so we're at his memorial. We marched from his memorial to Dealey Plaza, which is right down the street where JFK was shot at. And to me, it's kind of one of the most beautiful little march routes. It's short, but it's so perfect because it really captures kind of what we're talking about here, is people who want to speak out, who may be afraid to speak out for whatever reason. And these marches, it gives those people an opportunity to come out and feel like they're part of something big. How many people do we have in here? Maybe 30 people? Good turnout for a meeting, but when you're standing around thousands of other people who are just, either next to you making some noise or smoking, protesting the cannabis laws here in Texas, it's kind of exciting and it's empowering. And it makes you feel like you're actually part of a movement that is doing more than talking about it online and sending tweets, because the biggest thing we can do is show up. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
And so the Dallas Marijuana March lets us show our strength. So we initially were going to try to have it in the first weekend of October and realized that we were competing with one of the biggest events in Texas that weekend. Does anybody know what it is? Well, that one too. Hey, 2 of them. Well, okay. Wasn't even thinking about that. So ACL Music Fest in Austin, like 50,000 people show up for that. It's 3 days. And so it's 2 weekends. And so we realized it wasn't worth it trying to compete with something like that when a lot, maybe even me, would want to potentially be out there. And so we realized, okay, let's move it to the end of the month, make it closer to Halloween, which kind of makes it a little bit more exciting. And it gives us more time to plan. It makes the police more comfortable with the idea because it's not so soon that way. And it gives us an opportunity to potentially get some really cool speakers to come and join us. And so the way to get these outstanding speakers isn't to have me ask. How many people here are on Twitter? Don't be ashamed. If you're on Twitter, say yes. How about Instagram? Almost everybody. How about Facebook? Every one of you can help ask these people if they want to just come and participate, because they have people who watch their Facebook for them. And if it's a compelling enough offer, they may consider it. I mean, think about the Dallas Cowboys. All right, are there maybe some Dallas Cowboys who are having some issues with cannabis right now?
Yeah.
Who it may be cool to have somebody like that speak at an event? The Dallas Cowboys I'm actually going to talk about here at the end of this meeting, because we're going to do something after David gives his little tips. We're going to do something that I think we probably should have been doing all along, which is going over a couple of really important happenings in our news that's relevant to us. Does that sound good? Because not only is it relevant to know what's going on, it kind of helps to have something new and different to bring to the conversation to the people that you're talking about marijuana to often. Wouldn't you agree? So we're going to talk a little bit about the Cowboys. We're going to talk a little bit about the DEA not reclassifying cannabis, which I think is a total whiff and failure. You can boo that. And we're going to talk about a couple of other things, and you guys are going to let me know what you think about this sort of added segment to the meeting, which hopefully brings a little bit of info that you wouldn't have sought out maybe yourself, or maybe you just didn't even find these articles. But I thought they were really useful and impactful, and I wanted to share them with you guys today. But before we get David up here for our featured speaker, anybody attend Yoga in the Park? James, Juliet, Patrick? Guys, okay, so this was a literal stoner idea 2 years ago, to do something that was preaching wellness, physical wellness, as well as activism, getting out somewhere that we didn't have to pay or ask permission to be at, that we could show a sign of strength by, as a group, coming out and doing something, and kind of letting people know that it's not just about sitting on the couch and getting high, it's more about becoming healthier and giving Texans better choices, and being in a less restrictive situation, governmentally speaking. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
So, we talked about doing this yoga event, and I had no idea how many people were going to show up. A lot of people, people always talk online, they're like, we're really going to be into this, Of our events, we usually say, well, if 50 people say they're coming, we're expecting 25. And we just half it, and that way our hearts are usually not broken. Well, so at this event, we had around, I don't know, what was it, Patrick? 42 at the end of the day, right before the march, Jeez, I've got the march on the mind. Right before yoga started, okay? Guess how many people showed up? 30. Mostly women. Which, well, hey, I mean, I'm a man and I like yoga, but my point is, almost everything we do is predominantly male attended. And there's never been anything that we could do about it. I mean, we've got a women's alliance that, maybe 10, 15 women will show up to something like that. But we had 30 people show up to this for an hour. We had a professional yoga instructor, AJ Namaste. And Courtney Clark, who is our volunteer coordinator, who is not here. Yeah, we should clap for them, because I've probably had a dozen different yoga instructors over the years that I've just tried out and didn't really feel it. I wasn't feeling the vibes. And these ladies made it the most fun that I've ever had yoga be. Any attendees of all ages and demographics showing up, it really felt like a major win to us. I couldn't believe it, actually, that we had so many people show up for something like that. That was just our shirts and having flags out and stuff and showing a little bit of strength and solidarity. You know, it made me realize that we should be doing more stuff like that, that is so simple that doesn't require us to plan for a month and get a permission like the library and the marches and stuff like that. So we're going to move this yoga in the park around, Dallas, Fort Worth, Arlington. We're going to do our second yoga in the park on, what day is this? Thursday, September 8th. And that's going to be the last time we're in Arlington for a few weeks. We're going to go to Dallas, Fort Worth, and see how many people want to show up and attend and try to make it as big as we can. Yeah. The regular meetings. If one of our yoga instructors were here, that'd be cool, especially in a place like this when we have room. But I'll tell you, it's really cool to go and not have a formal agenda and just be like, okay, you want to know what's crazy? Mosquitoes love me. Something about me, okay? I can't go outside and not get eaten. I sat out there and did yoga for an hour and didn't get a single bite until the sun went down and we were standing in the parking lot talking. Not one bite. They love me. And there's 30 sweaty people around. And so I guess we just had a good spot. Maybe we got lucky. I don't know. But I'll tell you guys, it's really, it's fun. It's nice to be able to do something like this that traditionally costs money to go and attend and do it for free and be around people you know smoke pot. And I'm not saying we smoked pot out there, but I'm not saying we didn't. There was a nice breeze, and you know, as it gets bigger, you know, maybe we could even have some fans and stuff out there in the shade. So at no time were we actually in the sun. And so even though the sun was still going down, we were in a perfect place in the shade. It was great. I didn't get sweaty until the yoga started.
The sun, we weren't all that hot because that little breeze off the hill.
And so would you agree, both of you, that that AJ was an awesome yoga instructor? Is she in
yoga, and I felt the vibes, I felt the energy. The energy was absolutely awesome. This is the type of event where you don't have to come out, start rolling around in the grass on a yoga mat. You can come out, just experience the energy, and walk away a better person for it.
You don't have to be experienced. I mean, but and I still did the yoga. Yeah.
Our instructor is a 53-year-old woman from Compton, California. So she brought an interesting yoga that was hilarious. And also, I'm still sore from. This was Wednesday, and I still can't like squat all the way.
Fun and very engaging.
It was fun to do something different. It was fun to do something different. Next time we'll have more of our flags out there. We really didn't know what to expect because Arlington is kind of hit or miss with the police. And I didn't even see one police officer out there. Now, maybe the next time we'll see some. I don't know. Oh, you did see one? He waved. Okay, very good. So again, that's September 8th from 7 p.m. to 8:30, River Legacy. If you're curious about how to get to it, there's two entrances to River Legacy. One is on Collins, one's on Green Oaks. Use the one on Green Oaks. It's the south entrance. It's on Green Oaks and Margaret. Go straight through, past the stop sign. You'll see the big restroom pavilion on a hill in the middle of the park. We're on the east side of that. Can't miss us. So does anybody want to join me for yoga on the 8th? Make some noise.
Yo.
Okay. Anybody want to join me if it's in Dallas? Fort Worth?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. Just making sure you guys are still into it. Myself. So, all right. Up next, this is something I've been wanting to do for a while, and you know, David, he deals with this type of stuff all the time. People who quite literally got themselves in more shit than they needed to because they didn't do what? They didn't shut up. And so David Sloan is going to teach us a little bit about what to do, what not to do. I think both in a car as well as if you're just out on the street. Yeah. So a couple of different scenarios that we'll be going through. Sometimes it just helps to have somebody like David Sloan walk you through it. You may know it already, but it just gets into your head a little bit stronger, I think, when you hear somebody who's experienced kind of talk us through it. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
All right, so everybody give a hand to criminal defense attorney David Sloan. So just do me a favor, stand right here. I know you're not using all this, but our cameras are.
Hi, everybody. For those of you that haven't met me, I'm David Sloan. I'm from over in Fort Worth. But it's funny, coming here is kind of weird for me. This is the neighborhood I grew up in. And it's funny, my mother brought me to a neighborhood crime watch meeting in this very room as a child. So it's strange.
Were you into crime?
No. I was a little Boy Scout and all that. That's before I became a hoodlum. But at any rate, it's kind of a homecoming for me to be here today. Guys, look, we've got some amendments to the Constitution that protect us, and all our law enforcement officers are sworn to, all public officials are sworn to uphold and defend the Constitution. But what's going on right now in law enforcement is they go take this oath of office in front of their families and all that stuff, the swearing in ceremony, and then they march them down the hall to a room and basically teach them ways around all that. Now, that doesn't sound to me like upholding and defending something. If you're being taught all these little loopholes and ways of tricking people into relinquishing rights that are theirs. Right. People that come to me in my office when they've been caught with possession of marijuana, and of course there's a myriad of other things that we could be talking about. I'm not talking about the growers or the people that, the farmers or the people that are trafficking. I don't like that word, but I call them importers. We're not talking about people we're talking about just the average everyday consumer that's finding themselves hemmed up with law enforcement. And I think it's, again, just a rehash on the Constitution. You have a Fourth Amendment right to privacy, okay? And you have a Fifth Amendment right to keep the police from seizing you when they don't have any lawful basis for doing so. So it's important to know when the police can approach you and how to respond when they do. Now, there's three ways the police can approach you. They can walk up to you on what they call a consensual encounter, and that's no different than if I walk up to you on the street and start saying, hey, how are you doing, or whatever. If it's a consensual encounter, they don't have any lawful authority to detain you, or it's just a human interaction. You don't have to stand there and talk to them. Bid them adieu and go on about your way. Because a lot of these encounters, these places where people are in a park or whatever else, and the police have walked up on them, it starts as a consensual encounter or a caretaking function. They wanted to come up and make sure your car was going to run for you or whatever. You might be in distress. Clear that up, bid them adieu, and go on. If they don't have any reason to detain you. Another way they can approach you is with probable cause, and that's when they see you commit a traffic violation or some violation of the law. That's easy. You're speeding, you ran a stop sign, you've got a tail light out, that sort of thing. They have the right to stop and detain you under those circumstances. There's another thing, and it's called reasonable suspicion. And that's another way that they can at least come up and detain you long enough to make a reasonable inquiry. And reasonable suspicion requires them to have specific, articulable facts of your conduct that could be tied to some criminal activity. Huh? Okay, you're walking around in a used car lot at 3 in the morning looking in cars. Now, you may very well be you don't get off till midnight, and that's the only time you have to look. They invite it. They've got those big bright lights and everything. Okay, but at 3 o'clock in the morning, you're going from car to car. What could you be doing? Looking for a stereo to steal or something. Okay, so they can say, okay, what this man's doing, 3 in the morning, he could be a thief. Okay, he just came up with some specific articulable conduct by this person that could be tied to some sort of criminal activity. The same conduct at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, where is it? While the business is open, you see that sort of thing. Probable cause, they can detain you long enough to take care of the business at hand. You were speeding, give you a ticket, whatever. You're drunk, arrest you. Of course, then that's going to be a little longer than just a brief detention. But on reasonable suspicion, their authority to hold you there ends when you offer a reasonable explanation as to what, yes, this is my business. I'm coming out of at 3 in the morning. Here's my driver's license. Here's my business card. The address matches. See, it's my business. Okay? End of encounter. All right? Now, traffic stops. The police are taking all kinds of indecent liberties with people, literally, some of them, with people that have been stopped on a traffic stop. And if you're driving down the road and you find yourself being stopped by the police, the first and foremost thing you want to know, and you have a right to know, is stopped you. Now, if it's obvious, you know, you were going 110 and a 50 or something, you're going to piss them off if you ask why you stopped. Why did you stop me? You're going to insult their intelligence. So, but you want to know right up front, and it's important that you know, because you have to understand that they're videotaping most of this stuff now. They're wearing body cameras, dash cams on the cars, all that. I have cameras on my cars, dash cams, that record my speed to 1/10 of a mile an hour and everything else. If you got the money, invest in that. It's a nice little thing to have in your car. But anyway, get them to spit it out early. And you can, and once you find out why they've stopped you, you can get a good indication of where this is going to go by whether or not they stopped you for a bullshit reason or not. You know, if they've stopped you for a license plate light out, or you made a wide right turn, or, you know, you touched the center line, or didn't stop, you know, at the designated stop, or failed to use your turn signal a full 100 feet before you made a turn, that's a bullshit reason, folks. Reason, but it's still a bullshit reason. And that ought to tell you, right, that to me, when I get stopped, tells me how this is going to go. You know, when I know the reason.
But they
Okay.
ask you why they stopped you.
Well, and we'll talk, yeah, okay. Sir, do you know how fast you were going? I'll tell you right now, when they ask that question, about half the time, they don't know how fast you were going. They didn't have radar on you. It just looked like you were going fast. And when you say, yeah, I was going 67 in a 50, officer, you're right. You were, you know, and they'll start writing that shit down for you since you were so forthcoming with them. Okay. When they ask me, and that's usually what I get stopped for, speeding, do you know how fast you were going? I look at them and say, well, yes, I do. Because if I say, no, I don't know how fast I was going, then how in the hell am I going to go to court and defend it? I know how fast I was going. I'm just not, you know, I've had them almost lose their balance waiting for me to finish that sentence. I don't do it. Okay. But if they've stopped you for a BS reason, we just had a case at the Supreme Court, and the courts are starting to notice what the police are doing. They're stopping you for some subterfuge, and the courts have said they can do that. As long as it's a legal reason, they can do that. But they get you stopped for that tail light out or that license plate light out, and the next thing you know, the conversation is bouncing off in 19 different directions. And they start with these rapid fire questions. And I've had them, now most people that get in trouble with marijuana in their car, I'm going to be honest with you, it's the smell, stupid. You know, and I'm not telling you guys how, I'm just really here to teach you how to protect your privacy. I don't care whether you don't want the police finding your marijuana or your nasty magazines or Aunt Tilly's cremains in your car. It doesn't matter to me. Okay, I'm here to see to it that you protect your privacy. All right. When they get you stopped, you know, they can ask you to step out. They will often. That's legal. They can do that for their own protection. But then they start asking questions about, well, when's the last time? Do you have anything in the car you think I need to know about? Do you have anything in the car I need to know about? Well, your attitude needs to be, well, didn't I tell you? No. I mean, I'd fresh out of copies of the Fourth Amendment if that's what you need. Maybe you need to know about that. Okay, I'll have some next time you stop me. All right. Do you have anything illegal in the car? Do you have any? Remember back when you first got stopped and they told you why they stopped you? Okay, now is when you say, officer, I thought this was about a license plate light. You know, let's deal with that and let me get on about my day. Okay? And when they try to bounce off into all these other directions, asking questions and getting you to, I've had them develop probable cause because they asked the driver, do you have anything illegal in the car? Yeah, I do. It's under the seat over there. You know, shut up. You know, don't say anything other than name, rank, and serial number and what it's about. If they start going off in other directions, bring them back. Learn to answer a question with a question. I thought this was about speeding. I thought this was about whatever. Now, if they say, I smell, you can just, at that point, you just need to say, well, I don't smell anything. I don't know where you're getting at. Well, why do I smell marijuana? Well, I don't know. You're asking me. You need to figure that out for yourself. I don't know. All right. You mind if I look? Well, yes, I mind if you, can I look in your car? You mind if I search your car? You mind? Well, why? What do you got to hide? I value my privacy, officer. It's my car. Now, you want to make next month's payment, we can talk about this. All right? Don't consent to searches. And understand this, just because they ask questions doesn't mean you have to answer them. This is not Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Okay? And that's what they do, is they get you scared, they get you off balance, they get you where you're in they bring you right up to the verge of sheer panic, and then they start with these rapid fire questions waiting for you to screw up. And the point is, that's not a game you're going to win. They've had 1,000 dress rehearsals for this. They've gotten to hone and perfect this. People. And this is your first rodeo. You ain't going to win. Shut up. Just shut up. They're not your friend. They're not, just shut up. If they ask to search your car, no. I'm not consenting to any searches. In fact, remember I told you I wanted to get on about my day. Are you through? Well, I believe, well, you can believe what you want. Am I? And once it gets to where it's getting not so cool, then the magic words need to be, am I being detained? Can I go? Because, I'm tired of this. Can I go? No. Why am I being detained? Because remember that probable cause and reasonable suspicion? Probable cause he's already got, but the continued duration, Rodriguez, this case that just came out by the Supreme Court, said, if you stop somebody on a traffic violation, you have all the time in the world you need to take care of the mission at hand, which is the traffic violation. You can do all the things incident to that. You can check for warrants. You can check the registration on the car. You can make sure that it's insured. You can do all this stuff dealing with the traffic mission. But you can't take that opportunity to launch new criminal investigations, absent reasonable suspicion. Now, this is why the troopers, we'll talk about them specifically here in a minute, but they always say, oh, he appeared nervous. I could see his jugular vein bouncing on his neck, and they've got all these things and they'll sit there on the camera and go, you're nervous. And people are like, no, I'm not. And they're doing all this because they're trying to create reasonable suspicion to continue this duration. Remember, they told you why you stopped you 5 minutes ago, and there's been no more discussion about that. Everything else about where you're coming from, where you're going, what do you got in your car, to these people. When they ask me where I'm coming from, swear to God, this is what I do. I say that way. And when they ask me where I'm going, I say that way. That's how much business it is of theirs. If you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. Don't play that game. Now, if they say, yes, you're being detained, at that point, what? STFU. Name, rank, serial number. Nothing else. And you can just say, look, you're keeping me from going. I don't like you very much right now. I don't want to sit here and make chit chat with you. Another good way to say it is, I'm not discussing my day when they start asking you where you're coming from or where you're going and all these things that are just absolutely none of their business. This is America. This is not Checkpoint Charlie here. But it's turning into that, and it's turning into that because we're letting it turn into that. All right. Now, I'm not saying bow up on them or resist them and all that, but stand on your rights verbally. Remember, all this is being recorded. It's ever so important to ask, am I being detained? Because you need to get that, they get squishy, especially on DWI arrest and stuff like that. They'll have you out there standing on one foot and touching your nose and doing all these roadside calisthenics. And everyone on the scene, every cop on the scene knows you're going to jail, except for you. You know, they delay all of this. They do all their questioning, all their testing, all of this, because once you've been told you're in custody, bam, your right to an attorney comes into play. You're being detained. And by forcing them to say you're being detained, now guess what time it is? Miranda. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say. Miranda, a lot of people are like, police didn't read me my rights. I guess you're going to get these cases dismissed. No. You know, he caught you coming out the back window with a television set. You know, I don't really think he needed to question you. He saw. Okay? But the only time Miranda is required is when you are in custody and being asked incriminating questions. You know, but if they don't read you your rights and they take you downtown and you just blurt out all kinds of good stuff on the trip downtown without it, not in response to their questioning, that's all gravy. That's all extra they get. Okay? Make them say you're being detained and make them say why. You know, yeah, am I being detained? Yes. What for? Well, I told you, your license plate light. Well, then write me a ticket, man. You know, let's get the show on the road here. I need to go. I don't know what you're doing, but I got things to do today. Now, Highway Patrol is a whole different animal. Troopers in Texas now have all been given this roadside or highway interdiction training. And what they do now is they'll sit there and watch and profile cars as they come by. Cars coming southbound, rental car, late model. God help you if you got California or Colorado plates, you know, on that car. Usually more than one person in the car. And what? You just got to look like somebody that might smoke weed. Okay, let me know when you're ready. Good. All right. I get a lot of these in a lot of these roadside interdiction cases. They're all videotaped, and I'll have the case. The cop will be sitting on the side of the road. Car will go by. It's not speeding. It's not doing anything, and he'll pull out and get on behind it. And then before it's over, he's stopping the guy saying he was too close to the car in front of him, or he boggled the center line, or he was driving in the left lane instead of in the passing lane when he wasn't passing. Or didn't use a turn signal. You know, and if you follow somebody long enough, they're going to commit some kind of traffic violation. Nobody drives perfectly. All right. Including them. Yeah. I mean, we see it all the time. I see them make wide turns and you name it. When they get you stopped, I can tell you exactly how it's going to be. They're going to be just as sweet as pie when they walk up to the car. Nicey, nice, acting like your very best friend. They're going to ask you to step out of the car, you know, and then they're going to tell you what a nice guy they are. They're going to write you a warning, and then they're going to invite you back to sit in the car with them while they write the warning. And what they're not telling you at that point is they're asking you to sit down for an on-camera interview. Because in that car, in the right front passenger seat, they've got a camera hidden in the headliner pointing down at you. And then they sit there and they're making their chit chat and they're running their checks and they're doing it. And they mix these interdiction questions in with just general conversation about the weather or, you know, name it, just general small talk. So where are you coming from? And if these were questions coming from your friend or somebody you stopped at a cafe on the way home and met some people at the next table over, these are the kinds of questions, a lot of them are the kinds of questions they would ask, or just another casual traveler would ask you. But understand this, that's not what's going on here. He's mixing in with the small talk. He's asking things like, where are you coming from? What route did you take? Where are you going? When did you leave? And all that. And understand this. Then he's going to say, he's going to bid you adieu, and he's going to leave you sitting in his car. And what's he going to do? No, he's going to go up and start this with the passengers. And it's not going to be small talk chit chat. He's already got the driver's answers about where you left last night, what roads you've taken, what the route's been, and all that. And then he's going to get the passengers and start the same thing. And when the answers don't match, guess what? He's got reasonable suspicion now to hold you for a dog, or to go ahead and request permission to search, or do whatever else he's going to do. He at least has, if you got disparity in the answers between the driver and the passengers, that's certainly reasonable suspicion for him to hold you while he awaits the arrival of a dog to sniff the car. So, what do? First of all, I'm not getting in the car with a state trooper unless I'm in handcuffs. Okay? They've got a horrible reputation. Google it if you don't believe me. And I'm not talking about just the instance where they fingered these poor women up here on the Dallas North Tollway. I'm not talking about just that situation. Identical situations in Houston, identical situations in El Paso with them, not to mention the cases where troopers have been made improper sexual advances at people they've stopped, and which have resulted in criminal charges against the trooper. Google it. Don't take my word for it. They've got a horrible reputation. And you're going to get in the car with them? I'm going to tell them no. I'm not comfortable with getting in the car with you. You do know your reputation, right? I don't want out of the ticket that bad. You know? I'm not getting in your car. I'll stand over here if you're worried, or let me get back in my car and enjoy the air conditioning or something. But I'm not getting in your car, sir. Refuse to get in it. And then, of course, refuse to discuss your day. And if you're taking a road trip with your friends, your passengers, if I'm a passenger in the car and the cop comes up and starts asking me questions, I'm going to be like, talk to the driver. I'm sitting here lawfully belted in my seat. I'm not going to use the double talk, but remember what it takes to approach somebody. Reasonable suspicion or probable cause. What's the passenger done? Not a damn thing. If you're sitting there wearing your seatbelt and you're a passenger, by all rights, good luck trying this. I wouldn't suggest it. But you could undo your seatbelt, get out and say, I'll see y'all later, and start walking. Legal power they have over you. Now, smell of marijuana, game changer. Now everyone in the car is suspect. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of times I get approached on social media, and like there's this picture of a guy holding up his driver's license against the glass, and they're like, Mr. Sloan, is this right? Is this true? That's all you have to do? Just hold that up against the window? I'm not answering that question because I don't know what went on leading up to this. I tell somebody, yeah, that's cool, go ahead and do it, and then come to find out that the car they're driving matches an armed robbery that just took place, coming from, there's no two situations are alike. So, I'm not going there. But just know this, you have a right to travel unmolested in your world, left alone by the government, no interference from the government. If you do wrong, okay, time out on the side of the road while they take care of that matter. Don't let them expand it. And if they keep trying to expand it, keep trying to get pushy and keep trying to get horsey with you, at that point say, am I being detained? And when they say yes, why? Because they're stuck with whatever probable cause or reasonable suspicion they had right then. It's better to freeze that moment in time and document it. Because oftentimes I see them come back later and say, when they overextended what they did and everything, they say, yeah, well, at this point, that's when I began to smell marijuana or something. So make them, if they're smelling weed, make them say it. Because if you ask them, why are you holding me? And they didn't say it in response to that question, how in the hell are they going to say they smelled weed later? When you're asking them, why are you holding me? Yeah. Can't they just say, I smell weed and probable cause search vehicle? Yes, they can. They can lie. Anybody can lie. And I think that it bothers me because I don't really know, because here's the deal. I've heard marijuana smells a lot stronger these days than it used to. You know, rumor has it. And you know, I think I'm not a scientist, but I think it's because indoor grown marijuana has not been exposed to the sunlight and the air and the water and the, you know, rain and all that, and it's no different than airing a rug out on your clothesline. I think what's been grown indoor is going to have a much more pungent. That needs to be something that you're very conscious of in your car, because the internet lawyers are all saying the smell's not probable cause. I'm telling you right now, bullshit. Yes, it is too. That's all they need if they smell it. And I'm seeing a lot of cases, a lot more cases where officers have stopped a car and said, I smell marijuana. I don't know whether they're lying or whether it's just because marijuana is a lot more stinky now than it used to be. You know, I'll say this, it's increased my business considerably, you know, by all the pungent odor that it's got. But if they smell it, they're going to start looking. They're going to. And don't consent to searches. Now, let's say it's just all gone badly. In spite of all your best efforts, they're in your car digging around and, what might be in there? You know, and then let's say this is contraband. You know, here they come. What is this? Okay, what you say at this point is what kills 99.9% of you. Okay? Possession is a specific intent crime. What is that? It means it's a crime you had to have knowledge you were committing at the time you committed it. A stop sign is not a specific, that's a strict liability. If you run a stop sign, it doesn't matter whether you saw the sign or not. You know, if it was in plain view and you didn't see it, too bad, so sad, sucks to be you and all that. Here's your ticket. All right, that's a strict liability offense. Possession is not. Okay, so 90% of these cases are not where the contraband is found on you in a pocket or a sock or tucked away somewhere. 90% of these cases are where it's in proximity to the person that was arrested. I call them, I gave it my own name for it, I call them proximity cases. And that's not where it's not in your pocket, but it's in your center console on the car. Any of this sound possible? Okay. Even though they have found it, the game is not over. It absolutely is not over if you keep your mouth shut. When they say, what is this here? They are trying to close the gap on the evidence they need to successfully prosecute you. They want you to say something to indicate you knew that was there. When you say, okay, you're right, it's marijuana, it's mine, you got me, I knew it was there, or words to that effect, anything to acknowledge your knowledge it was there, that's all they need. I can't fix that. He's saying, I thought it used to be different. Here's where the confusion lies. There's two legal definitions for custody or possession. There's actual possession and there's constructive possession. And constructive possession doesn't require knowledge. It can be in your house or in a car. It can be in a conveyance that you have control over. All right? You have control over it, but you don't have knowledge of it. The law requires actual knowledge. And a lot of people say, well, I knew he was going to find it anyway, so I went ahead and told him it was there and admitted it was mine and all that. Well, you're an idiot. You know, you're an idiot. I had a case in Johnson County, of all places, and they're brutal down there. This guy had gone to pick up his roommate's truck from the shop. And when he got it, the roommate had to go to work, and the truck wasn't going to be done until 5 or so. So he goes to get the truck. And he gets in it and he goes, damn, Jamie, what'd you do? Rape a skunk in here? You know, it stunk in that truck when he got in it. And no sooner than he pulled out on the highway from the mechanic shop, Johnson County's lighting him up. Okay, the shop snitched him off, obviously. They called. They smelled it in the car and called. Yeah, that's, I mean, they were pulling him over as soon as he got on the road. Well, this is my point. The deputy walks up. Marijuana in here, boy. You know what he said? You know what? I do too. I smelled it when I got in here. It's not my truck. It's my roommate's truck. But yeah, I agree. It smells like it to me too. Step out of the car, gets out, you know, digs around, and all this funk in this car was being made by, there was a pair of basketball shorts laying on the back floorboard. It was a club cab pickup on the back floorboard. And in the pocket of one of those shorts was a nug. And it was stinking up that whole truck like that. Found it, arrested him, took him to jail. And and then this wasn't even planned on his part. He said, I didn't know it was in there. I really didn't know it was in there. And when we got to court and I talked to the prosecutor and read the reports and everything else, guess what? The DA dismissed the case because there was no knowledge. Think of it this, I think it was Barry Switzer, wasn't it? Who's the Dallas Cowboys coach that got caught out at DFW Airport? Gun! Switzer, wasn't it? Well, but understand this. He's saying, you know, no, most cases don't go to trial. But I'm going to tell you this. The weaker the case, the better your lawyer has to work with it. And the better deal he can get with you. If they've got you by the gizmo, the deal you're going to get is not very good. It's not going to be very good. So weaken the case as much as you can by not strengthening it. It's different places offer different things. You can get caught, if you get caught in Dallas or Tarrant County and you don't have a record, you know, they'll do some sort of a memorandum agreement or something. You go take some programs and right. But you get caught in Johnson County or Ellis County with a small amount of marijuana, you're doing 2 years of probation. You know, it varies greatly from, and the more rural you are, the more susceptible you are because they don't have the budgets to offer programs, alternatives to prosecution that the bigger cities have. So when you're out in the country, you're really running barefoot, you know, in terms of the kinds of things that a lawyer can do for you. Anyway, back to our troopers. Same thing. They start this business about I smell, you know, follow the same rules that I told you that to use enforcement in general. And if they start questioning you about anything other than, if they tell you you've been detained and they start questioning you about anything other than that license plate light, you just need to say, I don't want to talk to you anymore. You know, not without a lawyer. And let's talk about this lawyer. And I don't care. A lot of people are like, well, I don't have a lawyer. I don't care. Ask for one. It's not that they're really going to get you one anyway. They're not. I have never, ever, ever in all my life, and I've been around this all my adult life, one way or another, I have never once seen the police go get a lawyer and bring them back in order to answer questions from somebody. It don't happen. So what you're doing when you're asking for a lawyer is shutting them up. They're supposed to stop questioning when you make an Edwards demand. And Edwards is the case, the Supreme Court case. An Edwards demand has to be clear. It has to be unequivocal. I want a lawyer. You can't say, well, do you think I should have a lawyer? Or, gee, I wonder if you know. No, I want a lawyer. And I can't afford one, so you go hire him for me. Yeah.
When they find the bag in the car, is that what you respond with? I want my
lawyer. I wouldn't at that time, honestly, just because it looks bad.
You were getting to a point where you said what not to say, what to say at that point. You never got there, so I want to bring this up.
You know, I'd be tempted at that point if they found it to say, I didn't know that was there. Honestly, I mean, I'd be tempted to probably fudge a little if I didn't know, if I did know it was there. I mean, I'm not telling you to lie, but I know one thing. I'm not admitting I knew it was there. That ain't happening, not ever.
Ask him if he brought
Pardon me?
it. Ask him if he brought it. It was his.
And the truth is, we had a rather infamous incident where our entire wakeboard team got arrested out at Red Bull. And we got a lot of criticism over that too. And boys will be boys. No, he wasn't involved in it. But what had happened was we got out there and got set up. And I told him, no, there's going to be law all over the place. Don't bring any weed on the boat or any of that. And what they did was they snuck off and got some and came back with it. And one of them was sitting there and it was a whopping 3 grams, okay? One of them was sitting in the driver's seat, my seat, I might add. I wasn't there, I had left momentarily. But he was sitting in the driver's seat and he had a box in his lap, a speaker box that it came. And he was rolling a blunt and the rest are all around close. And you decide for yourself whether the rest knew that marijuana was there or not, okay? But at any rate, when the cops stormed the boat, this one kid, red-handed, had it in his lap, you know, and the cop's like, give it to me, and he dropped the nug in the cop's hand. Okay, he's screwed. Okay, he's done. All right? But these other 4 guys, and I arrived while they were all sitting there lined up, like little soldiers, and needless to say, I've had better days than arriving back and seeing this going on. And one of the game wardens comes up to me and he says, did you know there was marijuana in that boat? I said, really? Where? Remember I said answer a question with a question. All over it, all over it. And I'm like, well, I don't know about all that, you know. Well, did you know it was in there? I said, no. And frankly, there's been hundreds of people in that boat. Hundreds of people in that boat. Huh? Yeah. I mean, look at it. It's got pot leaves on it, you know. All right. Well, I knew poor Dylan, he was going to jail, you know, but weekend's still good. There's still 4 left, right? You know, we'll get him out in the morning, you know. And but then they start grabbing life jackets off the boat and putting them on all of them. And I'm like, well, you're taking all of them? Yes. And I'm like, God, thinking to myself, how much weed did they find in this boat, you know? And as they're driving away, I yelled at all of them, don't any of you say a word. I'll get you out. Don't say a word until I'm there. And one of the wardens jumped up and said, that's what got him in trouble. Nobody would admit it. Nobody would admit it. You know, well, I thought they'd caught Dylan with it. Well, come to find out what had happened was the reason they took the rest of them to jail was because what had happened was they got there with the good, and one of them, he'd broken off the nug or whatever, he had to roll this blunt, and he put the rest away under a seat. And they found it. And they assumed that there was 2 different owners, since there's some here and some in, you know, in what Dylan had. And they're grilling all of them, you know, whose is this, whose is this, whose is this? And nobody'd say anything. I trained them well. Well, yeah, I know these guys. I kind of have my own ideas whether they knew that weed was there and stuff. I mean, but that's my point. They took all of them to jail, and first rattle out of the box, the prosecutors declined the charges against the 4 because they were just in proximity. They had no evidence, okay? I had another case, 3 college students coming back from where? Colorado. And surprisingly, for Colorado, they'd just been to Weed R Us, you know. They had a surprisingly small amount, but they were college students. Really small amount in the car. They had less than a 1/4 ounce, and it stunk. And the trooper, you know, in the video, he sticks his head in there and he goes, it smells like marijuana in here. You know, and he gets them all out. Whose is it? Whose is it? Whose is it? Well, these guys were all college roommates, and they had already kind of figured out how to act under this circumstance. Not a one of them admitted nothing. They all went to jail, sure. but not one of them got charged because there was no evidence, you know. So, all right. Don't admit it. All right. One other thing, let's get to your doorstep. This is where we're having a lot of problems also, is the police are doing what they call, all it takes is an anonymous phone call downtown for the police to show up at your house. And they'll be there with no warrant, no probable cause, barely, if even arguably, reasonable suspicion, this anonymous phone call, which could be somebody that just doesn't like you. You see what I'm saying? But they're there for one reason and one reason only, and that is to look for opportunities to exploit, to search you, or to get in that house. If the police show up at your door and you haven't called them and you aren't expecting them, don't open it. Don't open it. It's your door. It's your porch. You didn't invite them. You know, they can come anywhere the UPS man can come. You know, there's a certain part of your premises that's implied it's public, sort of. But it's when you open the door that they stick that foot in it. And you're not getting it shut again. And if they smell, they're going to make you sit tight while they get a warrant. So just don't open the door. They cannot kick that door unless they have a warrant. Doesn't matter if you know they know you're home. You're sitting in the air conditioning. They're the ones out there in the heat knocking on your door. Don't open it. And again, now, remember they said smell is not probable cause? On a residence, that is not probable cause for them to just go in without a warrant. I've got one in Arlington right now. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to go. He was there. His mother opened the door. They were all outside. The police weren't watching. And my boy goes back and walks back in the house and shuts the door and locks it, leaves his mother out there with the cops. And they're all screaming, open the door, open the he got one over on him. He went inside. Open this door, open this door. And they got the mother to start saying it too. Open the door, open the door. And dumbass opens the door again. Taser around the door and tases him. You know, they're saying that and again, I don't know how this one's going to go. They're saying the reasonable suspicion was the fact that he went back in his own home and shut the door and locked it. You know, I don't know how this one's going to go, but it's not supposed to get them in a house without a warrant. All right. Don't open the door. Just don't open the door. Yeah.
What about backyard with privacy fence?
Reasonable expectation of privacy. The question is, what about a backyard with a privacy fence? If they've got a smell, and they can come in even without a warrant if there's exigent circumstances. And that's where I may have a problem with little Bumpus that went in the house and shut the door and locked it. I think technically there's at least a good argument at that point they could have kicked the door. Because under exigent circumstances, evidence being destroyed is enough for they're only required to get a warrant if they have time to get a warrant. And I think Bumpus wasn't giving them time. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure exactly how that one's going to go.
Specifically, smell coming from the backyard with identifiable 7 foot less privacy fence.
If they're able to see, do whatever, again, they can go in and secure it. I don't think it's a good idea to be out there with a 20-foot privacy fence. If you've got neighbors that are inhospitable or there's going to be some reason. Now, but also it comes into the plain view doctrine, and that is, do they have the lawful right to be where they are? You know, personally, my neighbors love me. We've lived together next door for each other for 30 years, and there's no way in hell they would call the police on me or whatever. And frankly, if they came out in their backyard and saw the police peeking over my fence, they'd be like, "What the hell are you doing?" You know, they would do that, but not all neighbors are like that. You know.
For a police officer to be in, say, your neighbor's backyard, neighbor has to give it permission.
Yeah, sure. If it's in an area that's been fenced off, If it's fenced or posted, you know, it's clearly an area that you're excluded from going, then yeah, they have to have the lawful right to be there. Now, I don't know, but the problem is, I don't know if you'd have standing to allege trespass on your neighbor. You can allege it on yourself, but I don't, you know, on your neighbor, I don't know. Backyard, unless you're cool with the situation, you know the neighbors are cool with the situation, I'd advise against that, you know, out in the open air. But anyway, this is just in a nutshell, the common mistakes I see people make. And again, don't discuss your day. Don't admit nothing, you know, deny everything, demand proof. Constantly be asserting your right to leave. You know, I'm ready to go. If you know, are you going to write me a ticket? What are you going to do about this? You know, and if they don't let you go, shut up. Tell them you want a lawyer. Ask why they're detaining you at this point. You know, it's hard for them to make up the facts later if you're making them tell you right then. It's you go live on them to tell you right now. And if all of that fails and they do find something, don't admit it's yours. Now, there's one time I'll let somebody make it in my office and not bawl them out if they've admitted. And sometimes somebody admits the contraband is theirs because they don't want their pregnant girlfriend to go to jail. You know, if you're throwing yourself on the hand grenade to save the platoon, I'll let you slide on that. You know, rather than let, you know, people who are truly innocent, you know, go. But other than that, I'm gonna ball you out if you sit there and tell on yourself, even if, you know, because just because they found the contraband doesn't mean they successfully prosecute you yet. Okay? All right. Thanks, guys. If y'all need me, just look up. Yeah. Office, please.
All right, everybody take your phones out. This is something that maybe one day you will thank me for. All right, I want you to create a new contact, David Sloan. His phone number is 817-810-0088. If you get busted with pot, you call who? David Sloan. You have his office number now. One more time. 817-810-0088. Yep. 810-0088. Has anybody already had to call that number in here? 0088. You stoners. Y'all are stoners. I said it through. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. One more time. It's 817-810-0088. Okay, we got it? Great. Excellent. Okay, so we're approaching the end of our time, so we're going to wrap this up kind of shorter than I was planning to. Bob, come on down real quick. Has anybody heard of jury nullification? So one of the most important tools in our toolkit. Bob Smiley is very passionate about jury nullification. I'm going to let him have 5 minutes to come and talk to you guys a little bit about it. And he's got some handouts, and then we'll wrap this up. Sound good?
I want you guys to be an army to help David.
Yes.
But not just you. I want you to go out and I want you to reach out to your friends, your family, your coworkers, your neighbors. I want this to be a daily conversation about jury nullification. I don't know if you know this, but America is 5% of the world's population. We've got 25% of the world's prison population. Since Nixon's war on drugs, we have put over 40 million people in prison. Let that sink in for a minute. 40 million people. We are ruining lives. We are ruining families by allowing this.
It's as if people are making money off this.
Yes. I pulled up 3 marijuana legalization surveys. I saw one for 60%. I saw one for 70%. And I saw one for 9 out of 10. 90% saying legalize marijuana. There's an army of people out there that are ready for this war to be over. So we got to tell them about jury nullification. They don't know about this power. You do. So let's make this a daily conversation. Our three branches of government have failed us. I know you guys do a lot of outreach with the legislators, but they still have failed us. I'm not discouraging you. I want you to keep doing what you're doing. They're going to keep passing laws. The Democrats and Republicans, all they're doing is passing laws, which means more criminals. Okay, the DEA is making more and more rules and regulations, and they're making laws. It's wrong what they're doing. But we've got to check. Thomas Jefferson gave us this check, a trial by jury. Trial by jury is the most mentioned right in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. And they wanted this, Thomas Jefferson that said that this needed to be a anchor for our constitutional rights. Clay Conrad, a Houston defense attorney, wrote a book about jury nullification, and he defines jury nullification as the act of a criminal trial jury in refusing to convict on conscientious grounds in spite of proof of guilt beyond a reasonable doubt because they think the law is unjust, the law is misapplied, or the punishment is inappropriate. Mr. Conrad is quoted as saying that during the Prohibition era, nearly 60% of the cases ended in acquittals. I tell you, we must be clever to win this war. They did it with alcohol prohibition. So why can't we do it with marijuana prohibition? Kirsten Tynan, the Fully Informed Jury Association director, has talked about the 1920 case of George Bevan, a defendant on trial for an alcohol violation. In pursuit of investigating the facts, during deliberations in an attempt to fully investigate the evidence, the jury drank up all the evidence. They had to be certain that Bevan was in violation of the law. With the evidence gone, the prosecution was forced to acquit. Kirsten said the jury gave prohibition laws all the respect that was due, and that was none at all. Activist Steve Silverman is the founder and executive director of Flex Your Rights. He wants to dismantle the war on drugs through film and news media. He says every new jury nullification acquittal or hung jury mistrial for a drug defendant is a potential viral media event, especially when jurors decide to speak out. He has a plan and said this project will be different. For one thing, each and every time one of our viewers is able to either secure an acquittal for a drug defendant or simply hang the jury because they refuse to vote guilty, this creates the potential for a viral media event, especially if the juror decides to speak out. If we can inspire hundreds or even thousands of these jury nullification events within a short period of time, this will shock the shit out of the police, the prosecutors, judges, and lawmakers. And when these jury nullification events continue to happen with no end in sight, they will take notice that we, the people, will no longer tolerate drug war policies that violate our American values of liberty and justice for all. This ball is rolling. I've been doing this outreach for about 14 months. I've been going person to person. I talked to 3 individuals this morning and about 30 here today. I do this every day. I love this.
And all the marches.
Pardon?
I've seen you all that.
Yes, I've been at the marches. I've been to thankfully, these guys have let me come speak at a couple of the events and a couple of the marches. The convention, I do gun shows, I do open carry events, I go to political events. Yes, sir. But I'm going to tell you, I've had great success. I was at an open carry event last summer, about August, and a young man out there named Eric Haley, he goes, hey, I was giving a little speech. He goes, I've got jury duty. I'd like to talk to you about it. So I talked to him about it, and then I gave him contacts at FIJA, the Fully Informed Jury Association. He got hooked up with one of the attorneys and Kirsten, the director, and they informed him of his rights. The judge ended up picking this guy for the jury foreman. And he, for 6 months, listened to over 1,000 cases and was, because of this outreach that I'm doing, he was able to no bill victimless crimes. Over and over and over again. So if you guys can get on a grand jury and set people free, do it. And if you know somebody says, hey, I'm going to serve on a grand jury, get them hooked up with FEJA. Have a message FEJA. I would encourage DFW Norml to invite Eric to come in and talk about his experience on the grand jury, because it's interesting. He's got a lot of great stories to tell. And he's an awesome young man that saved a lot of lives and a lot of families. Pardon?
If you have rights, you also have obligations. And that's one of your obligations, is to serve on that grand jury.
Yes.
Not just the pedestal, but the grand jury.
Right. This is a duty.
Seek it out.
Yes. Another success, and I'll wrap it up here in a minute. 2 weeks ago at the courthouse, every Monday I do a courthouse outreach. You're welcome to come out in Fort Worth at Tim Curry Criminal Courthouse at 7 in the morning to 8:15. I hand out brochures. And I make jurors aware of their rights. One guy I was giving a brochure to, he goes, I already got one. I met you at the gun show. I know my rights. Is that not cool?
Yeah.
Now, half hour later, I'm already blown away by this. Half hour later, this guy walks up and he's got a book. And his bookmarker is a brochure. 2 people were ready for jury duty that day. Even if we get 60% of the folks that want the legalization of marijuana done, 60%, we're going to end this drug war. But I can't do this alone. Each and every one of you, I want you to share it. I want you to go to Facebook. I want you to go to actually fija.org and Facebook it from there. I'm going to give you all some information. The website's on there. And then share it with your friends. Help me spread it that way really quick. We're almost at, we're just about 200 away from 5,000. I want to see this at 100,000. But let's get it to this mile marker by Jury Rights Day, which is on the 5th. And I'm going to give you guys each couple of these cards, and I want you to find somebody, a stranger, and talk to them about jury nullification. I want you to take about 3 each of these. So you guys are going to get about five pieces of media to go out and help me spread this message. Let's show Texas that DFW is ready to fight. Let's start protecting one another. Let's have the people's backs at the courthouse. Come help me. Listen, 95% of the cases are plea deals. 5% of them think they have a case. So let's help David. When he's taking a case to trial, let's be there. I got a couple things I want to give away. So I've got 3 posters and 3 citizens rule books. Guy about 5 years ago planted this one seed on me, and I'm doing this today because of this. And I didn't like what was going on in Waco with the bikers. 177 arrested. There was only 3 bikers that were guilty. This is why I got involved. I'm not going to have this happen in Texas anymore. I'm tired. I want to start protecting my brothers and sisters.
In Dallas and Tarrant County, I've seen you out there. I've seen you. Go in next time you're there to the clerk's office and ask for the jury calendar.
I got it.
Okay, jury weeks, non-jury weeks.
Yes.
And then also where you're needed badly, honestly, Monday mornings. So it's federal.
Yes, sir. But I need help. I can't go there by myself because that's scary. Those feds will. I need help. I need people videoing this. But let me give these away real quick. You got to answer a question. First Amendment gives you 5 freedoms. Name me 1 freedom.
Association.
All right, give me 1 more. Raise your hand. All right, in the back. Religion?
Yeah.
The right to shut up.
All right, does anyone know what the supremacy clause of the Constitution is? Article 6, Section 2. All right, that means the Constitution, this Constitution is the law of the land that can't be changed. All right, 4th Amendment, what is it?
Privacy Act.
Very, well, it's not an act, but it's your right to be secure in your person. Go ahead.
The right of people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue for the probable cause. Supported by other affirmation and particularly described the place to be searched.
Awesome. That's what we need right there. Each of those books are earmarked for a shortened version of the Constitution. Now I got 3 posters. Tell me how many branches of government there is.
3.
Well, go ahead.
Legislative, executive, and judicial.
Very good. All right. How many? Well, let me ask this.
Come on,
Yeah, all right.
we're way over.
Who could use these? Anyone else want a poster? Thank you guys very much. Please look me up on Facebook, Bob Smiley, Smile. And afterwards, if you would, come get 2 of these and 3 of these from me. Or can I just start handing them out?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
All right, everybody, give Bob a hand. Okay, so we ran a little long, so I'm not going to cover the news stuff that I was hoping to cover. So you watch for that on our awesome new HD camera when we start doing some video broadcasts more often. Did everybody have a good time today?
Yeah.
All right, how many people here are members? Raise your hand.
What?
Members. How many people are wearing their membership card around their neck right now? Keep your hands up. That's not what I asked. So if you're wearing your membership card like this, then instead of your 1 complimentary raffle ticket, today you get 2. All right, and moving forward, I want everybody to wear their membership card around their neck so we can see if you're a member or not. I don't care if you're a member or not, but if you are one, I want to know. Sound good? Yeah. All right, so who needs a raffle ticket?
Who are we talking about?
Membership cards right there in the back for volunteers. So we're going to raffle off a couple of shirts, a couple of wristbands, and then we'll call it a day. Sound good, guys?
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks again, and everybody say bye to our live stream. Bye. Say you should be here. All right, thanks again for watching. Herb's the word.
I got to remember one another.